As a performance artist, we must take every opportunity to display what we're about and express at wherever possible. The court is a place where we can really, communicate to people. It should not allow the authorities to intimidate our expression for change. Well, we're in a crisis. We need to be out there expressing ourselves. And this is an example of expressing ourselves in public. Everybody's got their different ways. Well, there's such a crisis in the world at the moment, and I work hard at developing and fine-tuning my expression, and it's a learning curve. It's bearing witness to what's going on out there. I mean, the bearing witness is so important to the passion of giving you. That's where what you see with your eyes is more than reading books, and to be performing out there, it draws attention to many people, including yourself, and how people react. And that's when you look at, when you look around you see how people react, and you get a fuller picture of what's going on in the world, and helps with your expression as well, fine arting your expression. It's quite different. The police, New York and Woodstock, they have a respect for artists, and it's been very respectful for me. I've been in situations with my costume, and they never approach me. They just let me do what I do. Instead, I've been police heads have stood next to me and said, "I want a photograph with this guy," and it's. But here it's cold. It's very cold. There's no that sort of interaction. They have some respect for artists over there, I'm greatly empowered by going to the USA, doing this work, and we need to develop this in Australia, and that in the artist world here, doing this sort of work is not really. It's fringe at the moment, but it's becoming mainstream in New York, and of course Woodstock has always been doing these performances around all kinds of issues in the village and around the place. Yes, it's an extension. Oh, well, it's all a continuum. It's like, being in character is one of the things. Is developing that being in character. There's a performance artist activist in New York who's the head of the Greens. His name is Reverend Billy Tellin, and he does this whole stand-up, event. But it's actually a Broadway musical as well, because the music are composed with a choir dressed in green garb, and they do their actions in this and the rest of the situation. They dress up. They have all kinds of dress ups, and these cases get dismissed. It just cracks everybody up. You have people in court, as angels and in praying and things, or they have a uniform and they take up the seats and they're there as in their costume, as part of it, and all holding positions, doing tableaus, have expressions on their faces. They use their body in that sort of way to build up a story, and it's all choreographed, and they work out ideas, without having to, within the limits. Be creative, be creative in court. There's so much you can do in court, not just dressing up and using your mime and face, and relating it to the prosecution, looking at you, and they see this, and it'll have an effect. So develop your skills in mime and the creativity in making your costumes, and it adds to the story, it adds to the empowerment of, and adds to our non-violent direct action process. And these things need to be taught in schools and universities of how people can express themselves in all kinds of venues to empower themselves in a non-violent way, especially in this day and age when we have climate change and nuclear spills and that, just to bring it even to the guy who's sitting behind, who's making the decision on somebody, in the court, you should see, be it on a t-shirt, in a costume, so forth. But there's other things. They have hearings in the USA, and people sing, and they do the presentations in different ways. There's people that have songs that express themselves, what they're doing. They'll have, you know, they'll be dressed up, and even they bring in posters and banners into these things. It's just a different sort of way of they allow this thing as part, and it's filmed and videoed and media. They're in these hearings with, you know, the congressional hearings that take place around the place on fracking and nuclear. Yeah, I've been at them, and you could just walk around and be in your costume, and they just sit at the desk, and people be on the microphone talking, and just this general conversation going on, and they take notes on what's being said and recorded for them, because everybody needs to know. And bits of information, everybody's a gem, everybody has a bit of information to express about things, especially people who've bared witness, people have been studying and, you know, around the place. It's so important for them because it's the health of the planet, it's the future of the next generations at stake. Well, I was pretty, I mean, Lizard's Revenge, it was really, I mean, they start off, you know, they played the good, you know, the nice, give you a go, and then all of a sudden they just start getting heavy, you know, this is enough. And also the lack of trust. They had so many police. Like, I prepared an installation with my barrels to take down to the gate. We had a beautiful art piece, you know, of the lizard to take down with Uncle Kevin behind, you know, taking it down there. And this was blocked by the police. They could have walked beside. Made all these actions. They had enough people to actually, you know, so move back a bit, you know, keep it tidy and that, or they could have gone about their supervising this protest and giving and allowing ourselves to express ourselves in a much more humane manner, saying that they were non-partisan to it. But in actual fact, we're really making us out to be criminals, or getting, I mean, it was really off. And my arrest was extremely uncalled for, quite, because I'm reaching down to pick up the banner. I mean, they said, you know, you got to go, you know, you got to leave, and I didn't answer them. I went down, you're under arrest. I tried to pick up my banner, and they started dragging me. They didn't give me the option to walk. They just grabbed me as I went to pick my banner and started dragging me. And my shoes came off, and I couldn't find them again, my Birkenstocks, which it's all part of my uniform, because I could slip in and slip out, you know, like I really chose the sort of garb and the footwear. It's comfortable, I could walk long distances with it. You know, it's part of, you know, it's part of my body of work. And so that gone, and I don't know where it went. We looked everywhere. These things, you know, are just not taken care of, not, you know, treating us like just a sack of potatoes, or not even giving, I mean, just treating us just like dirt, crap. Oh yeah, well, you know, in Paris, so you've got to come and bear witness. We have a lot of fun, you know. Besides all this arrest thing, in generally, you know, I mean, we had a lot of really good stuff going down. I mean, Lisbon was extremely successful, and you make bonds with people. You develop your creative juices, a lot of ideas, and you're doing a great thing for the planet. This is the statement I'll be bringing into the court and given to the magistrate. I'm going to read this out to you. Police versus Benny Zable. Submission to magistrate. My name is Benny Zable. I am 66 years of age. I am an artist, active in various mediums such as paint, mime, acting and display. I have practiced in this capacity around the world for some 35 years. Following the tragic and continuing meltdown of 4 nuclear reactors, it's actually 3 nuclear reactors, at Fukushima, Japan, and in response to a call from Aboriginal elders and environmentalists to come out to the uranium mine at Roxby Downs, I crafted a presentation as a living billboard protesting against the mining and enrichment of uranium. On the 17th of July 2012, I joined the breakfast vigil at Roxby Downs in my role as a living billboard, wearing a gas mask and a gown, and with banners and props to warn passers-by and the media regarding the dangers of the nuclear industry. Also, I sought to bring attention to the abuse and health risks brought upon the traditional Aboriginal owners who are asking for help in their bid to win back their land. My presentation on the 17th of July 2012 was based upon a format and get-up that I've used for decades, as illustrated. I attached a photograph of me in this get-up at Occupy Wall Street campaign in Liberty Park, New York during the September-October in 2011. At my feet I placed a round banner that describes and reminds all who read, photograph and video the presentation regarding the wondrous earth we inhabit and responsible to look after it for future generations. The round banner is my most important artwork I take around this country and overseas. In my protest, I do not blockade. I move around and adopt and display positions so that the media covering the protest can get photos and video grabs. The reasoning is for those messages to be recorded, disseminated and hopefully published or transmitted by the media. That morning of the 17th of July 2012, at the intersection near Roxby Downs, initially police expressly gave protesters the permission to display themselves on the road. There were a lot of police securing the intersection, and media, including television crews, were present. At no stage did I inconvenience, let alone block, any persons or vehicles. In fact, the police had cordoned off the area and no vehicles were trying immediately to use the road. When the police surrounded the people preparing the food in the center of the road, I came over and stood next to them, the police, that is, the police, so that the media would have a focal reference to film and photograph during the unfolding drama. I was wearing the gas mask and gown with the round banner laid upon the ground in front of me. Then the policeman approached me and gave me a directive to move. My garb impeded movement somewhat and the mask is sometimes uncomfortable. I reached down to pick up my banner. As I was in the act of picking up my banner to move, I was grabbed by the police and dragged backwards. While dragging me backwards, my fully protected covered Birkenstocks shoes came off and remain lost in the melee at the cost of $100. They have not come back to me. I made inquiries to the police station in Roxby Downs after the police unit around the protest camp and at lost property at the protest camp, all without success. I respectfully request that this charge be dismissed on the basis that I was actually obeying the direction at the time I was arrested. If this request is refused, I respectfully request that no conviction be recorded. Such a conviction would impede my travel overseas, especially my entering the USA, where I help out at environmental and peace events in New York and Woodstock. This would be a blow to my host and relatives overseas. Benny Zable, 12th of September 2012. Well, we'll see what takes place. Got ourselves a presentation, and we'll just hope the magistrate will tune into what we've got to present and chuck it out of court. Not give me a conviction. We win. No conviction. Well, we came to some agreement with the prosecution, and it all ended up with a really good, a good time. Just standing for myself was great. It was quite empowering. I got a lot of message, got a lot of stuff across to the magistrate, and who he understood where I was coming from, and there was no recorded conviction. The only paying is the court costs, so of the prosecution being coming up here. So that's all it was. It was a bit of money to pay for this court happening. It was a conservative. He just played it according to the rules. Anyway, he looked at the photos, and he looked at what I had presented, so hopefully it registered in his head.